In a world where tech makes the biggest headlines, I have the biggest of all of those. The hottest male in the world is with me, of course, Sabeer Bhatia of Hotmail. Well, I don't know whether I should only introduce you as that, but I think that is the easiest way to get everybody introduced that you're here in India, and you're here with us at NDTV. Sabeer, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you've come here for a very, very important purpose, which is your brand new venture, Showreel. So I'm going to get started with that. Of course, lots to talk about, but let's first find out about Showreel. What is Showreel? Why do you think it's a game changer? You've called it, something that will change the world of careers and jobs forever. What is it that you feel is so strong about Showreel?
Well, the pandemic brought upon us 1 billion people who are without a job. And Showreel is an attempt to capture who they are as human beings and as professionals by doing a virtual interview with them. Okay. And the idea for Showreel came about when I saw my 8-year-old daughter effortlessly make TikTok videos for entertainment.
Okay.
And so the idea here is, why can we not use video for a socially positive reason, which is help us help people make professional videos about themselves as people, as human beings, and as professionals. So in Showreel, I ask them questions that any interviewer would ask them, and try to capture who they are as human beings, and thereby enabling them to make a showreel of our interaction virtually through the app. Now, if you can, extend your imagination, this need not be limited to just professional videos. I help people make, personal videos, startup videos, if they've got a great startup idea. And in doing so, capture their thought processes and their ideas on video, which I think is the future of content consumption.
Okay, so let's understand this. So suppose I'm the one who's making my Showreel. I'm looking for a job. Okay, so I go in out there, open the app out. I go into the right area, which would be the section that I need to go. As you described, there are multiple ways. And then you would start asking me, you would start asking me questions. So it's as if I'm talking to you. It's a one-to-one. You're there.
Yes.
As a video, and then I answer, and then the app makes a showreel out of all that I've said, and that's then what I send out to people, making a printed CV or a digital CV redundant. Do I get this right?
Yes. And in fact, you can augment your printed CV with this interaction with me by putting a QR code on your printed CV that goes back to the actual video interview.
Okay.
So I ask basic questions, simple questions like, tell me your name, what is your educational background, what kind of work experience have you had, what is the hardest problem that you have solved, how do you like to spend time outside of work. Very simple, straightforward questions which are asked in any interview.
Right.
But how people answer these tells a future employer everything about them.
Right. Okay. So this is great. I think, again, a game changer coming in from you. So can this be used, is like you said, it's not one silo only, right? Can a company then white label this because they're looking for 500 people, and can they white label it? Can the person who's asking the questions not be you and someone from that company? Can they change the questions if they want? Are these options available?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So companies can ask very industry-specific questions, can ask job-specific questions, and increasing their productivity. Today, in a typical company, it takes the company HR department 2 to 3 months to hire the right individual. And if you can imagine, there is a hiring problem that every company is facing, while at the same time there are 1 billion people unemployed. This market is ripe for disruption, where you create a platform or an app where you just bring A closer to B. Right. And the best way to do that today in today's world is creating a video. Okay. If you look at all youngsters today, all they do is watch videos all day long. Learning is happening through videos. Zoom has become an integral part of our life. And So it's only natural and ripe to create an app that is completely video based, that virtualizes an interaction between two people and helps A, get to know B better.
Okay. But what's the add-on? You said that you got inspired by this because you saw TikTok being used by your daughter and realized what an incredible platform even short video can be. What else does this app do? Are there other add-ons to it? Can I do something else with my CV? What is it that I get from this app that I wouldn't get if I just recorded a video on my own and kept it as a digital video CV? What's the add-on?
Fantastic question. I in fact launched a version of this app that only asked text-based questions. And the short answer to your question is, most people are not actors. They cannot look at a camera and just speak.
Right.
But if I turn that same thing around and ask somebody a question, conversation is natural to us. We've been conversing as human beings for the past 100,000 years. All of a sudden, people open up. And I did this with 25 individuals, friends and family. I did a Zoom interview with them wherein I asked them only 8 questions, the same 8 questions that I have on my app.
Okay.
And the kind of data and response I got was mind-blowing. I mean, 10 times richer content than what you find on a LinkedIn profile. So what I'm doing is really creating a video version of LinkedIn. As simple as that, by asking real questions.
Okay. And do you believe that this is something that will do very well in India? You're here in India, back to your roots. Do you believe that this is a big game changer for a country like India?
Absolutely. Massive for India. Okay. Because there are 300 million kids between the age of 18 and 32 that are unemployed today. And at the same time, companies are hungry to hire these people as well. I've just created a platform that facilitates a conversation between companies and individuals and gives both the power to showcase who they are at the end of the day. So people no longer become just a paper-based CV, one amongst hundreds that companies have to sift through. They can actually create videos which are far more interesting for a hiring manager to look at before bringing somebody in for a further round of interviews.
Right. Okay. So it seems like a very powerful idea, and of course we'll track it and we'll see how it goes. I think it's a great idea, and I especially believe you're totally right. For countries like India, absolute game changer. But let's talk more about game changers of the past also with you, right? So one of the questions, I'm sure you've been asked this many, many times before, Hotmail made you, the wonder kid of that time. Absolutely, technology and you became synonymous in every which way. But a lot of people do say that after Hotmail, you haven't really done anything else that has been a world changer. Maybe this one is, Jackster, other investments. You've had those, but they've all kind of come and they've kind of done average stuff and gone away. Do you feel that you became a one-hit wonder like you've been called many, many times?
First of all, every startup operates in extreme conditions of uncertainty. Okay. Not every startup obviously succeeds. For every 9 startups, every 10 startups, 9 fail. So the very nature of a startup is trying out crazy ideas. And that's the nature of the game. It's not a traditional business. So the metric that you are using or you think you want to use as a business, a startup is not really a business. Okay. A startup comes out of a vision to make a difference, to change the world for the better. And some of those simple ideas sometimes go ahead and completely change the way we interact with the universe or with the world. Take, for example, Google or WhatsApp or Uber, completely changed the whole transportation industry, the world over. It was a simple idea. Mm-hmm. And so, I've been trying different ideas, and not all may have, seen the light of day. But this one, the timing is so appropriate for it because the conditions are ripe. On the one hand, people are very used to using Zoom, so this virtual conversation is part of our lives now. People are working virtually from their homes. There are 1 billion people unemployed. This is one of the best ways to showcase who you are to a potential employer or a potential mate.
Right.
I mean, you can create a personal video, and rather than sending a photograph and a resume, you can send a video.
I was about to call this Tinder for CVs, but I didn't think whether that was appropriate. You've said it almost yourself now.
Yeah.
So Tinder for CVs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, coming back to another part that I've always been fascinated by. The buyout by Microsoft of Hotmail, in many ways, I think, crippled Hotmail. I believe Hotmail, if it had continued with all the innovation that you and everybody else in the team was bringing to it, when it goes to a very large corporate, it becomes a very small part of them, and therefore, I don't know whether they actually handled a great innovation well. The fact that it doesn't exist anymore in itself showcases that. Did you sometimes see Microsoft making mistakes and every single time grit your teeth saying, oh my God, they're going to kill it, they're crippling it, they're derailing it? Did you feel like you would have done it differently?
I think, first of all, Microsoft did have a few missteps in that
You're being very subtle though, but
they missed the international market by limiting the storage space that Hotmail users had, and Google came in and just
Hotmail should have been what Gmail is today for sure.
Absolutely.
You had first run advantage. You had millions of people that were already on the platform. Yeah. All they missed was that 2 GB storage on 1st of April.
There you go.
And they could have dominated the market.
Right? Absolutely. Right. And I think that is primarily because, once again, like you said, they saw it as a business. Startups are not about being a business. They're about changing the world. They're about doing the same thing in a different way and doing something better for the planet, if you will. Okay. The classic example that comes to mind is Tesla. It's hardly making any profit. So don't look at it as a business. But what it has done, it has changed the way we look at cars. It's not really a car. It's a computer on wheels. Mm-hmm. And that vision only Elon Musk has. None of the other car companies can ever come close, because they are the market is looking at Tesla as a computer on wheels that constantly gets updated. That means now the other car companies will be forced to think like software companies, which is simply not in their DNA.
Right.
It's as simple as that. And today, the 10 most valuable companies on the planet, leave aside Aramco, which is like an oil company, right, are really about human thought. And that's the beauty of the space that we operate in. The future is all virtual. And great ideas can change the world in a very short time span. You don't require decades to build value. You can build value in a few years, on a few months. You don't need years.
With a simple thought.
With a simple idea.
Which is what you said.
Yes.
Okay, let's explore this a little bit more, because I think in India we're on that cusp where earlier promise is now delivered, right? A lot of startups going in for IPOs, crazy, insane valuation, at least some people call it that, incredible value being unlocked. A lot of people say this is ripe for a disaster. We have 10-year, 12-year-old startups that are getting amazing valuation, and then very, very new ones that are also wanting to go the IPO way. First of all, is an IPO the right way to go for a startup? Because it does control them. They come in, like you said, they come in, and a startup is not a business, but they get kind of trapped into shareholder meetings, board of directors, profit as an important part of what they have to now deliver to the shareholders. First of all, startup to IPO. Is this the right destination and journey?
You know what? There is no right way. There's no one right answer.
Okay.
But having said that, the market has been phenomenally benevolent to companies such as Tesla and Amazon. Amazon didn't make a profit for 17 years. Right. But they demonstrated growth, whether it was user growth or revenue growth. And so the short answer to your question is, in fact, it is the right thing, because markets now have figured it out, that if somebody has a thought leadership in any space, they should be supported for the next 15 years. So what if they don't make money for the next 15 years? As long as they're demonstrating growth and they know that they're going to own the future because they have broken through the mold and done something so unique and so different that has changed all of our lives, I'm saying, yeah, bless them. Great. This is positive thinking. The negative thinking is, let's value it like a traditional business and have board meetings and figure out, are they profitable or not? Don't think negatively. These companies are great. Support them, play along with them, and hopefully, they will change the future.
Okay. So you don't think this is a combination of what many people dismiss it as, too much money in the economy right now, Gen Z finally making investments and they always want to do things different from the previous generation, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency mania and everything else that has come in, has now also come into the startup culture. You don't think that we are ready for a big correction fall?
No, everything is going virtual. I mean, these companies that are young today are going to be the leaders of tomorrow because, look at our buying habits. Do we go to malls anymore? Look at our eating habits. Do we go to restaurants anymore? We're just ordering online. And virtual has become a way of life, and there is such a huge segment of the population that is still has not experienced, this kind of virtual lifestyle. And that is the potential. Who will own that future? Who will demonstrate the maximum growth are the ones that should be supported. And it is kind of risky in a way, but risk is part of any startup. And the beauty is, look at just 15, 20 years ago, the most valuable company on the planet was GE, a traditional manufacturing house that made everything from toaster ovens to aircraft, right? Today, it's not even the top 50. Who has taken over? Companies that use the human mind to bring thought to this virtual network, right? So all these companies that are based on human thought, I believe in the next 10, 15 years will be the leaders of tomorrow. And we should support them. So I actually think we should be bullish on them.
Oh, you are. Okay. My last question, this is my wrap-up question, quick question. I had many more. If you were to give advice today to yourself when you were at that age when Hotmail was not bought by Microsoft, but you were just getting started with Hotmail. There are many youngsters out there watching you right now and millions right now. What's the advice you would have given yourself or to them? What's the one thing that they should do for sure? What's the one thing they should be very careful about right now? Because the euphoria might just have a lot of momentum. So what's the best advice you can give them to do something that they must do? One thing to remain away from.
I don't want to sound like I am copying somebody else's line, but I would encourage them to think different, to think outside of the box. And the most important advice I would give them is find a problem to solve. In all my experiences, good and bad, I have found that the hardest thing in the startup world is not to give advice on do crypto or do virtual delivery or do cars. Those are all, part of product development and where we are as a society. But solve a problem. Okay. Find a problem to solve. It is very hard to find the right problem to solve. Okay. But if you find a problem that is large enough to solve, you may just change the world.
Right. And it
and
is
the
very
best
much
piece of advice that I could give any one of them is it's not enough to change the world. You must make it better.
Okay, don't just change it, leave it better.
Make
and
it
what's
better.
the one thing you'll tell them to keep away from? The one scary thing, maybe something you've learned in your life, having the experiences you have now?
I think the biggest drawback are negative people. And negative people are people who really are doing it for the money. If people are doing it for the money, they're not right.
All right, great. I think you're leaving it with just about the right way to get a person who's watching you right now truly inspired to do more, like you said, make the world better. Don't just change it. Thank you, Sabeer. Thank you so much, and we wish you the best of luck. And right after this, I'm going to go and make a show reel for myself.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Sabeer.
you so
Thank
much.
you so much for being with us.